Hi and welcome to the Redmen TV. I'm Chloe Bloxham. I'm joined by Errol Smith for this one. It is transfer deadline day. We're going to talk about the transfer news so far. I'm not expecting anything to happen, but we'll be here later on in case that does happen. But do get your comments in, get everything in. Errol loves to speak to you, so I'll let him do all of that. I'll try and stay in the background, so mainly I don't get shouted at the most. You can deal with it a bit more than me. But first of all, how are you doing?
I'm good, to be honest with you. I'm not too bad. The sun is shining, Liverpool's looking nice in the sun as always, so I'm just chilling. As I say, not expecting any major breaking news. I'm not expecting no yellow banners flashing across with Liverpool's name on it, so provided there's no shock outgoings, I think we're quite resigned to the fact that our business for this transfer window may just be done, and I'm sure we'll get your thoughts and feelings on that as the show progresses. So let us know, drop some comments in there, guys. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. We'll get some ratings out of 10 at some point later on this evening as well, but do stick around. We've already got one there. Any hopes for the new signing, guys? It's slim pickings, to be honest with you. I'm not holding my breath for anything, to be honest with you. What about yourself?
No, I think obviously Slot had his press conference earlier on today and he basically said, he's expecting no incoming. So, I mean, I'm not... How are you feeling then because of this? We'll wrap up everything else that's going on because there's been some loan moves. But for me, it's one of them where I was made up with Chiesa. At the start when that was announced, I was a bit like, how much money are we at? And then 10 mil, I was like, boss. I would have liked one or two more, I will not lie. But once this deadline day closes, I'm just going to have to get behind the team no matter what and support them, and that's the way I look at it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I get the sentiments, I'll be honest with you. I kind of spoke to a couple of lads in my group chat the other day, and, we all had a little poll, how many signings will Liverpool make before the transfer window closes, and I think my perspective was not necessarily about the volume of players that we'll bring in, it was just more in the event that Liverpool make a signing in the last week of the transfer window. To me, that stinks, it smells, it kind of shouts and screams at me that it is. It's more of a reaction than part of the plan, and it was never the original plan. And that's not always to say that it's a bad thing, reacting to an ongoing moving situation, and you see somebody with that quality of that level, considering we sold Carvalho earlier in the window for closer to nearly 30 million, and then we're going to bring in someone who is not necessarily an out-and-out replacement, but someone who's going to bolster that attacking line for us as well and add an extra little bit of depth for us, and then we're doing it for the tune of about £10 million. You can't really grumble. So I can see the sense, I can see the logic in it. I am not going to lie, I am disappointed that Liverpool haven't. Again, I think, I said it on probably one of the first watch-alongs I did this season, maybe the clue is in head coach as opposed to a manager, because you can't really sit a manager down in an interview and say, all right, well, we've got these attacking targets, but if we don't get our first or second pick, then we're not going to sign anyone. I don't think any manager in European football worth his salt says, well, that's a proposition that I'm whetting my appetite over. I think, the idea of having a quality head coach is the fact that his first and foremost job is to get the most out of this squad. Now, if that means we can get an extra 10-15% out of the level that we got last season, with a year assimilated for all the new faces that came in last year and all the rest of it, then so be it. That's a great look for the squad. And as you said, as soon as the transfer window closes, you get behind it and you get excited. Yeah. However, I still think we are leaving ourselves slightly short of being a full complement at this moment in time. And I think that's probably going to be the only real disappointing thing from a Liverpool's perspective. But I think we're going to have a couple of months now between now and January for Slot to really work with these lads and assess again and think, all right, well, if there is an opportunity, I can get somebody and we can put the feelers out end of November into December, and we might be able to make some positive moves in the January transfer window. And I've got at least a budget to work with them, because we haven't, for want of a better word, spunked our budget in the summer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
we'll get to some of the super chats. First of all, thank you so much for giving us a super chat. We've got Zuby bringing his mother and coming to Liverpool. I really don't think that's happening, but I do enjoy the optimism. You're going to be devastated by the time 11 p.m. comes around, though, I can tell you that. But thank you so much for the super chat. We've got another one. Right, Richard Hughes off at your Errol. Yeah. Well, here we are. Look, this is the thing, is I was going to ask you this a little bit later on, but I think I'll do it now then. Do you think that Liverpool and Richard Hughes have left their signings too late to make, and therefore they can't make any signings, or do you think there is just no one out there that Liverpool actually fancy?
Probably a little bit of both, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of the time and the energy went into obviously trying to lock off CDM to be in that position to get the out-and-out six. Slot looked at it and thought, I can work with Gravenberch in that, so while yous are fiddling around in the background, I'm going to just focus on what I've got in front of me and the players that I've got to work with. So I think they've left it a little bit too long, because if he's your number one, I always said this, what does your number two feel? If everything's being played out in the public, how does that number two's agent you might have inquired or spoke to genuinely feel about, well, you know, you don't fancy me as your number one, I'm kind of like your sloppy second option. And, you know, as a professional footballer, I think a lot of ego comes into it and pride maybe, so it probably just makes going for your second choice a little bit harder, which is why, you know, at times when we bought the likes of Virgil van Dijk, it was, all right, he knows we want him. We know he wants us. We've not been able to make it work, but we're not going to go for anybody else because we want our guy, and anybody else now would just feel like it's not the right person for us. And then there is an element of, once that door closes, they've obviously went and looked and explored other areas of the pitch that they can try and strengthen. And again, it was right, which is going to be the best value for money, because there was players available, but are they the right profile? Are they the right value? Do we value them at the right price that the club might be asking for? You know, does the player want to move? There's so many different factors and components that are going to making up a transfer.
Yep.
And I just think the Chiesa ones might not have seemed like the most easiest, but clearly the people that were making that deal happen felt like it was the least legwork to do with the most accessible fee. There was not like Juventus weren't waiting to sell somebody or, you know, waiting to buy somebody in or anything like that. It was quite a, you know, the player wants to go, we can sell him for this much, you can put the bid in, and it was quite straightforward. Whereas if there was other players out there that might have had release clauses or anything like that, you think if Liverpool would have felt he was the right person, Liverpool could have went and activated them, but it looks as though we're choosing not to.
Yeah, from my point of view, and I'll give my take on it, I'm disappointed because I looked at the squad and look, Arne Slot might turn the squad into being brilliant, and so far what I've seen, I'm really enjoying. But I just thought we're just a little bit off Manchester City and Arsenal here.
Arsenal as well?
Yeah.
In what sense? Squad or 11?
In terms of they hardly ever concede, and they are so clinical at times. Like, look, they haven't got an out goal scorer, and in the final hours they might do something. Arteta said in his press conference, you know, if there's something to do, they'll try and do it. It's not over yet. But they've got Trossard who comes in and just seemingly scores all the time. I feel like they've now got the experience. They've gone up against Manchester United twice, Manchester City twice, sorry. And I think the thing about it is, I think they're too emotional still, and I think that could be their downfall. Once again, I did say this last season, and they only ended up, you know, being one win off.
Clip that YouTube, let them know. Chloe thinks that the Arsenal fans and the team are still too emotional.
The fans can be as emotional. Like, I'm fine with the fans being emotional, but you know, when Saliba's given it the massive 2 games into the season, what's it going to be like if you actually drop points? Because it feels horrendous when you're in that position. But I just felt we were a little bit off them in terms of quality off the bench, because if Ryan Gravenberch doesn't play, you're looking at Wataru Endo, but can Wataru Endo fit this system as much as Slot wants? Or then we moving Maka back to that kind of, I mean, he's already in the double pivot, but are we making him the sole sitter? What are we do? Who's going to go alongside him? Curtis Jones at the moment is injured. I just felt we were close to Manchester City and Arsenal. Yeah. And by doing nothing, you can't bridge the gap.
But do you think they even take City out of it? I'd say Arsenal.
I mean, City have lost Alvarez, which I am absolutely made up about.
But do you think they have improved themselves? You think they've gone up a level or two just by transfer business alone?
I think they're already a level above us without the transfer business is the problem.
Okay. Where did they
finish
above us twice?
Exactly. Where did they finish last season?
And 3 or 4 points ahead of us. So yeah.
And to be fair, that could mainly be the Klopp factor, because everything was just far too emotional from a Liverpool point of view last season.
Yeah, completely, 100%.
So that could be that. Slot could make us improve the players and improve the system. If Liverpool concede less, we just win so many more games this year. That is that simple. But I just think with the mentality that Arteta's setting in there for them, and look, they've got Marino, who I think he's fractured his collarbone maybe or something. Did he get injured? I don't know. Maybe I've dreamt
that. Let us know in the comments as well.
Let us know in the comments. But I feel like someone said something about maybe Marino landed badly in training. So that was one signing. I still think the players, they're young enough to develop and take it, and they've gone twice. The third,
I just think that's exhausting, though.
But I feel like they've got to win this season. Like, I feel like they have to.
Okay.
Do you not feel that?
I feel like
if Pep Guardiola stays.
I feel like the pressure is firmly on Arteta to go and get silverware for Arsenal now.
They should
be winning, but at the same time, if Liverpool can still be in and around it, and City are obviously going to be the consistent force that City are, Arsenal have got a lot of work to do, because the way that we ended up winning it was almost, for one season, City almost ran out of steam and needed to go again type of thing, whereas we was able to almost do our league title at a bit of a canter when we had Klopp because of the lead that we had extended. I don't see Arsenal getting that level of fortune to where they end up on.
They got it last season though.
But they still lost. But they still lost, and there were still teams in and around them, so it was like, you can't afford. We had a buffer of how many points? 11 points, something like that, crazy buffer where we could do it, and the teams behind us fought. Liverpool are relentless, and we're not going to catch them. Whereas this, with Arsenal, the first time they had the chance and he was 9 or 10 points clear, City thought, we can track you down because we've done it before. We've done it to a Liverpool side that's been good, so we'll do it again. Last year, even though City weren't at the flying best, De Bruyne is injured for a period of time, Haaland's injured for a period.
It's all right, they've gone and got Gundogan, like this comment says right there. Gundogan and Savinho.
He is absolutely huge for them, make no mistake about it. Gundogan going back, he was clutch. He's the reason that we don't go and do it a couple of seasons ago, because his goals, is it the Aston Villa game? Yeah, he just turns up and turns clutch. So I do feel as though having teams on the same level, or a level maybe below, in our case, City a level above Arsenal, it just means it's more competitive for them to actually go and do it, because they're not going to get the chance to run away with the league if everybody's form is what it would be. What I would ask you though is, if you would have been Richard Hughes going into the transfer window with a blank check to say go and make signings, what would have been your go-to? Not necessarily players, but what would have been the position?
I had three positions.
Go on then.
So I had three positions. So I had a CDM, a right winger. I was screaming out for a right winger just because the drop-off between Doak and then the news that Doak was going out and potential sale, he's now being loaned, and we'll get to that in a minute. I needed a right winger for if Mo Salah got injured, because I don't want to play Jota on the right wing. I love Jota. Leave him in between the goal sticks, because that is where he's lethal. I don't want Diaz having to make shift on the right wing, especially right now if he's actually playing well. Keep him where he is. And I had centre-back and / left-back cover. They were the three positions I wanted to improve. DM, mainly, I'm happy with you giving Ryan Gravenberch a go, and so far I've enjoyed it, but you've got to see against the bigger sides what happens. I have harped on about how much I love Ryan Gravenberch for the past year, when everyone has been hating on him. So I am a Ryan Gravenberch major fan, but I just felt like if he gets injured, then what? Because then you put Mutari in, who once again loved, and around the period of Fulham last year when he came on and scored that goal, I thought he was brilliant. However, can you do that? Can you play with Taruendo in the mid as your sole player and win a league title? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So that they were my three positions. What were your positions? What did you want Liverpool to go and solve?
To be fair, not too dissimilar to you, really. I think I never got behind the Gordon stuff for a number of reasons. I just didn't think 60-70 million pound for, a player of his age and that particular profile didn't seem to me like good value for money, if I'm being honest with you. And I felt like if we went and signed what would be considered to be a marquee figure for a player like that, I'd have expected one of the forward line to have left as well, because he would have probably come in on big wages, wanted guaranteed playing time and all the rest of it. So I couldn't get behind that. I do believe that the right winger situation is a very good shout by yourself there. I think my trying to read between the lines on it, I feel as though last year when Salah had his dip, there was no real adequate replacement. Liverpool had everything in the balance for so long, even when it didn't feel like it was in the balance. Mathematically, it was still in the balance, so you kind of got to play your odds. And Klopp wasn't in a position where he could really afford to drop Salah, even though Salah's form probably dictated being dropped. This time round, I think with it being in his final year of his contract, I think Slot looked at it and said, that seems to be, it's an opportunistic one, but I'll take it because it gives me a motivating tool to use against Salah. Yep. Because if Salah's form does take a dip for whatever reason, injury, burnout, whatever it might be, his head might just be out of it by a certain point in time, if he's not happy, whatever, looking into the future, he can turn around and be like, well, I don't have to start you. You're going at the end of the year, at the end of the season. I don't have to manage that relationship in the same way that Klopp had to manage that relationship and almost keep a man happy that wasn't playing at his best. Mm-hmm. And if he wants to try and then Slot wants to try and get the best out of him, he can now use another player of a certain quality to turn around and say, well, he's starting, and if he's performing well, he's playing. So you've got to now come in and play better than him if you want your spot back. And I think that could be a bit of a motivating tool that Salah hasn't had in his Liverpool career up until this point. So I'm not mad at that in any way. I think that seems to be quite sensible going into his final year of his contract. And I do think, defensively, I think we would have done good to get a little bit of cover in. Yep. We've lost the experience of a Joel Matip. We'll touch on the Nat Phillips news in a moment, I'm sure. Joel Quantas, a young lad, I think he probably got maybe too much game time last year, but again, we needed to use him, and the level he performed last year for me was good enough. Is it going to be good enough in 12 months' time? I don't know. You see the improvements City and Arsenal made, especially Arsenal defensively. Are we going to be able to be that watertight in 12 months' time with Errol in that back line? And again, Konate's ceiling seems to be still higher, but his availability and his fitness, is that going to become a bit of an issue? Is that going to be a bit of a drawback? So to have someone that would have been reliable, adequate cover, I know you've had the likes of Joe Gomez, but again, if he wanted guaranteed playing time and Slot couldn't afford him that, maybe it was just a time to refresh. But my feeling was, again, almost in the same way that we've kind of done Chiesa with Salah, we needed to do the same with Virg. We needed somebody that was almost, not necessarily a halfway house, but somebody that we felt in 12 months' time, you might be, the second choice. We might spend 30-40 million on you, but we're still going to go and have to spend another 60 million on the guy next year. Do you know what I mean? But then we bolster that back line. So it would have been interesting, but I think I would have probably went for at least 3 as well myself. Yeah,
we'll get to the Doak news and everything now. But before then, let's just have a look at some of these super chats. Connor, we still have a solid squad, and it is what it is. Trust me, in approximately about 5 hours time from now, that I will forget about transfers, and that'll be my outlook. Until then, I'll still be a little disappointed whilst the window's open that Liverpool haven't gone and used the opportunity to go and improve the squad, because we've got a very good squad and it doesn't feel like we're far off. That was my only point. It feels like we're not that far off. A couple more additions here and there could have really helped us, but obviously I agree with us needing world-class players to really improve the starting 11. Luke, do you want to read this one out, Errol?
As Cor Ballier says, FSG out now. Oh, steady on. We still got 4 hours to go. Don't shoot your load just yet, lad. We'll be back. Jeez.
Luke, City get a point and Arsenal won't be given credit.
Okay. Fair.
What?
I don't know. City get a
point. Cool. And that must have been from something.
Give us the context of that. You don't have to super chat in, but Luke, just give us some more context.
Just give us some more context. And then Josh, I don't mind waiting for a 6. See what's about in Jan. I think we need a left centre back though. I agree. What's going on with Kaide Gordon? I thought he was a right winger. We'll get onto that now. Do you first agree? Once again, if Liverpool have identified a number 6 who's not available right now, who I will sit there in 6 months' time and go, my God, I'm so glad Liverpool have waited and got the right one. That's fine, I get that. But I refuse to believe that there was no other, no one else but Zubimendi.
But we did that last year. We didn't get, we didn't get Bellingham.
Exactly.
And, you know, there was...
And we weren't sorted.
We weren't sorted last year. And then, you know, we bring in someone of, you know, Endo's level, I suppose. And that was seen as settling for because there was somebody out there. Do Liverpool want to go down the same road again? We miss out on our number one, but we're going to get number two. Then we've got two number twos sat there, which now prohibits us or prevents us from being able to go and lock off the actual number one target. Yeah. I think there's something to be said that if, you know, the squad's big enough and there's plenty enough games for, you know, Slot, these lads to cut the teeth over the next couple of months to get us to January. All I said is Slot's basically got to keep the wheels on the track up until January. Because at that point, if we're within touching distance, he can turn around to the lads above him and say, boom, there we go. This is what I've done up to now with what I had when I walked through the door. Go and get me. You've got 30 days to at least get me one or two of these. And if I can assimilate them, because we don't know, like, with Jurgen Klopp, when he bought midfielders, there was a whole... I think Dominic Szoboszlai, you know, did well early last season. I think McAllister was a little bit of a later burner, maybe October, November, and we started to see better quality from him. And then he had a really good run of form into the new year. But it always seemed to me that when we had new players in that midfield engine room, it always took a number of months for them to get fully up to speed. I don't know if Slot's of the same line of thinking and knows that it's not going to just be instantaneous. Boom, these lads are going to come in and it's, you know, it's plug and play. It is almost like a bedding in process, which is fine. You haven't had the pre-season to bed in, so you're just going to drop this person in now cold and just expect them to hit the ground running. Extra pressure on me. Maybe Slot's like, I don't want any more pressure on me right now. If I'm working with the squad that I'm given, if the results are great, I look amazing. But if the results aren't the best, it looks like you can look up there and say, well, come on, guys, this is what I've got to work with. Back me a little bit and the results get better. What I'm hoping actually happens is we get to the January transfer window, we're within touching distance of the league, we've qualified for the new Champions League format and we're in the knockouts, and he can turn around and say, I came here to win things. I came here to be a winner. Therefore, I think there's an opportunity here for us to be opportunistic and say, let's go for the win this season. Why are we waiting? Why are we delaying it? If there's a chance that we can go and win, let's push this team as much as we can. But I'm going to need and require signings to do so. I don't think there's anything wrong in us being able to do that. It just requires a little bit more patience from us because that's probably what he needs as well. Yeah,
so we'll go into what is exactly happening right now in the transfer window for Liverpool. At the moment, there is no incomings, of course. But we'll start off with Nat Phillips. He's off to Derby on loan. The 27-year-old has been given the green light to undergo a medical and will spend the rest of the season with the Championship outfit. Phillips was the subject of interest from Turkish club. I can't say it. Can you try and say that? I know the badge. I can literally see their badge in my mind.
Trabzonspor?
Yeah, we'll go with that. I just can't say them. Earlier in the window, the Bolton-born centre-back has made 29 appearances for Liverpool since joining them from Bolton Academy in 2016. He obviously had a previous loan spells with Stuttgart, Bournemouth, Celtic and Cardiff City. So Nat Phillips is going out on loan. I'm sad for him that we've not been able to sell him all this time. I'm sad for us that we didn't sell him when he was at his peak market value as well. Because now maybe he goes on a free. According to Transfer Market, and this might be incorrect, it might be 2026, but apparently his contract expires on June 30th, 2025. So he might be set to go for free next summer. If not, then it's 2026 and he has a year left on his contract.
I think it's a shame that he's not going to a Premier League side. I'll be dead honest. Yeah. I think he's shown in his time and in his stints playing in a Liverpool squad that he could play for. He could definitely play for a team in the Premier League, and you know, whether he's a squad player for a top 10 team or he's a regular starter for the team in the bottom half of the table. I think it's a little bit of a shame that there aren't suitors there. I think, you know what, there's a solid, old school type of no nonsense, robust, trained at the highest level centre back there that we could get for a relatively good price. But at the end of the day, if I think he's been a fantastic servant in a lot of respects, and he's stepped up. He's not been one to complain. He's not really kicked his threw his toys out of the pram or anything like that. So I do believe he probably deserves a higher level, but but at the same time, he's not going to be short of minutes if he goes down to Derby.
Yeah, sad because, you know, like you said there, I thought he was a player who could have got his big move somewhere.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one, Kaide Gordon is set to go out on loan to Norwich. Liverpool youngster Kaide Gordon is set to join Championship outfit Norwich City on loan. Head coach Arne Slot is keen for the talented 19-year-old winger to get more senior experience under his belt this season. Gordon, who joined Liverpool from Derby County, surprise, for a fee potentially rising to £3.4 million in February 2021, made an impressive breakthrough at Anfield under Jurgen Klopp in 2021-22. However, injury wrecked the following season for him, and he only featured 3 times for Liverpool in all competitions in 23-24. Another player who several years ago I was really, really excited for, like you said, hindered by injuries. I think the loan move is a really good move for him to go and get that experience, get rhythm, get game time, and hopefully come back to us, you know, more developed.
No, that's what you kind of got to utilise those loans for. Look at Harvey Elliott as a prime example. A couple of seasons ago, goes down to Blackburn Rovers, does really well with them. I think he's one of their standout players. He might have even been one of their players of the season, if I'm not mistaken, or a fans player or players player of the season. And he's come back and he's worked hard, and he's been in and amongst the squad, the first team squad for Liverpool now for the best part of 2 seasons. So I think there is, you know, signs of progression. I think there's been clearly opportunities afforded to a lot of the young lads in this Liverpool squad as a whole for the last 2 or 3 years now, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think that's one of the things that we can really look fondly on, the fact that we can pluck some of these lads out. You know, you've got Conor Bradley, you've had Harvey Elliott, you've had Stefan Bajcetic, you've had, you know, Joel Kwanzaa. You've had a number of lads that have had breakout moments and breakout seasons to where they're really making it and staking a name for themselves in and amongst that first team squad. So the idea is to continue that conveyor belt, but equally, you know, you've still got to find minutes and places for these lads to be able to cut their teeth in. They're going to have to do it in a competitive league and do it around other professionals of that level, so they can kind of get used to the physicality when they do come back into the Premier League. Because, as I say, just playing under 21s, reserve, academy football, it will only get you so far. You really do. There's nothing, you know, I think, you know, the old analogy, you can learn how to drive and then go and pass your driving test, but you don't start learning how to drive until you've got your own car, you're insured, and you're driving on your own day in, day out. So it's that type of methodology for me personally. Get them out there, getting that experience, and hopefully, as I say, in 12 months' time, you can have another look at him, a longer pre-season, and see if the levels have improved and if he has got something to offer the squad.
Yeah, I can see the comments going up in flames.
I need to get my laptop. That's what I'm doing. I'm slacking on my laptop. On the next one, I'll bring my laptop.
Then Redmen TV call out FSG. I'm not going to lie to you, mate. If you think we get sponsored by FSG, go for it. Like, you live in that world. I can tell you now, Liverpool see us as competitors. They don't like us because we're competitors. We sometimes are allowed to get interviews with players, and that is very, very rare occasions, and that's if the players actually say it. Things like the Jurgen Klopp interview, Jurgen actually came to us and wanted us to interview him. It wasn't a case of we asked for that. Me personally, I get absolutely nothing from FSG. No tickets, no. I still pay for everything.
I ask you a question though, right? Because it's very easy to just say FSG out. What's the alternative?
I know.
Like, give me like make an argument for an alternative that like speaks sense to the fact that if FSG go, who takes their place and does what with Liverpool? If you answer me that, I say we'll have a conversation. I'm down for a conversation, down for a good old debate. Friday evening, I got nothing better to do. But it just seems too easy to just say FSG out for what? Someone else with money, and if it was that easy. Who? You can't just say someone else with money. Who is the sugar daddy that is going to go and buy Liverpool right now? Yeah, I'm probably not, but I'm just asking genuine questions. I appreciate it, but I'm probably not. My arguments may be flawed, but I need to, for me to kind of get behind something, I kind of need more than just a punchy catchphrase and a slogan. Like, I need to know where we go, because sometimes, and again, I'm not trying to be a sympathiser in any real respect, but sometimes it's the best of the devil you know than the devil you don't. And I would not want to end up with owners like Todd Bowley. I would not want to end up with owners, someone with ambition. But Todd Bowley's got ambition, and look at what his ambition's doing to Chelsea. They're a fucking mess. Look at what Ineos is doing with Man U. They're still spunking money up and down, left, right and centre, and they still got Ten Hag there. So it doesn't work. It's all well and good and well intended to say, we need ambition. I get it. That's fine. Use want shiny new toys every single season without fail. Sound. They were willing to drop 100 million on Caicedo last year. I don't think, and that's a fair point. But there are other club owners out there that might have the ambition, that might have the means, but still don't make good footballing decisions. And I think that's what you need to be careful of. So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I'm one of them people who sit very much in the middle. I don't think FSG are horrendous. Would I like them to spend more money? Absolutely, of course I would. Even Chelsea fans want Bowley to spend more money. Of course, I'd like Liverpool to spend more money. But at the same time, I would hate to be in Chelsea's position right now. And also, you know, this system that we do have set up, when we do win things, it just means that I feel like we've done it the hard way, and it's like it feels bigger and better. But yeah, I would like Liverpool to spend more. There is absolutely no lies about that. But it doesn't mean I absolutely hate FSG. I'm sat in the middle. I can see what they've done good. You know, they've built 2 stands there for us. You know, they have spent money big time when we've identified the best players. But at the same time, I do agree. I think Liverpool should have done more this transfer window. But that doesn't mean I want to get them out, because I'd be scared to see who we'd get next is my problem. People with money, you just don't know how they're going to spend it. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the next news, and that is Ben Doak is apparently going to Middlesbrough. The 18-year-old winger has attracted strong interest from a number of Championship clubs, including Hull. However, Middlesbrough's strong pitch convinced both the teenager and Liverpool that Middlesbrough under Michael Carrick is the best place for him to continue his development. Liverpool sanctioned a loan move for Doak following the signing of Federico Chiesa from Juventus for an initial fee of 10 mil. Doak is desperate to play regularly this season as he looks to put an injury-ravaged campaign behind him. He made 5 appearances for Liverpool in the first half of 23-24 when he obviously played instead of Mo Salah, but was then sidelined by a knee problem which required surgery. So that is some really good news for me, because he was a player a couple of years ago I thought, you know, had star potential. Sadly, we didn't see it last year. We probably would have if he hadn't got injured, because we were in the Europa League. But it's one of them. We need to make sure that we bridge the gap between these youngsters and the level that we've got now, and to do that, you've got to go and let them play.
Yeah, it's the same boat that Kaide Gordon's in, and I think, you know, I think that's where we've been smart now. A lot of these lads are considered as graduates, and if they're not going to be in and amongst the squad yet, there's benefits to training with the lads and understanding the tactics that the manager wants. But he probably feels it's more important that they're getting actual minutes at their rawest form, and then he can develop them and hone them into the players that he wants in his system in 2 years' time. I think it's kind of showing, you know, Slot's hand about him not just being a flash in the pan manager. It's kind of, he's got a 12-month, 18-month, 2-year-old plan that he wants, and these lads feature in that plan. But, you know, Maresca turned around and had a block list of about 6-7 players. They're not in my plans. I'm not dealing with them. They can go train elsewhere. It's not that type of, you know, tactic. It's more a case of these lads need to have the time, attention and detail somewhere else, and then I can hone their skills. If they're a year more developed, if they've got another year under the belt, if they've got more minutes, more experience, I can then work with them, and I'd rather work with them at that point than try and just have them round here when my sole focus right now should be getting the most out of the lads that I'm going to depend on week in, week out. And I think he's fair to do that, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, other news, Stefan Bajcetic has gone to RB Salzburg. Arne Slot has told Stefan he can become a very important player for Liverpool after he completes the loan move to RB Salzburg. He said, I hope it will be a big year for him because he's a very talented player and I think he could become a very important player for us, but only if he gets playing time now. If you are that young and you've been out for so long, the only thing you need is playing time. He could have playing time over here, but we've got 6 or 7 very good midfielders, so his playing time here will always be more limited than where we expect him to play at Salzburg. So for him and us, we think it's best for him to play at the moment instead of maybe playing a few times and then being on the bench for a long time again. It's very difficult to keep a player fit who's been out for 15 months when you're only playing once in a while. So this is for the long term. Again, this club has been smart, in my opinion, for not only looking for the short term, but also the long term. It's a smart decision, at least in our opinion, to let him go somewhere where he will hopefully play a lot of games. Then for next season, we'll have a player, if he fulfills his potential, could definitely play for us in the future. So yeah, he's off to Salzburg. He's linking up with Bobby Clark. Good move.
It's almost like I've bloody read all the notes and done my own work there. He's just took all the words that I said and just repackaged them. But that's it. He's nailed it for me. Is it Linda's?
Yeah.
Linda's a scaffer. See? You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be close connections. There's going to be weekly catch-ups. There's going to be all of those things. They might become a little feeder club for Liverpool in the next 2-3 years, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, having him there to keep tabs on him as a player that he's already thinks highly of and wants to obviously develop and continue that level of development, I think it's a no-brainer. Again, there's the argument, you know, he's almost naturally gifted 6, potentially. You know, maybe Gravenberch makes us all forget that in 4 or 5 months' time, but there's definitely a player in there. But I think the most important thing is he's got to be able to get minutes. He's got to be able to get that game time. He's got to feel like, you know, if I'm being competitive, it's one thing to say I'm training at my best, but if you've got no chance of getting in ahead of a couple of our lads, what's the point? You may as well be training in an environment where you feel like your competitiveness actually can be rewarded as well at the same time. So I'm happy for him. I hope him the best, and I genuinely think, you know, they're in the Champions League, so he's still going to be playing a high level European football for the year. You know, there'll still be plenty of eyes on him, and it's a good look, even as a, you know, keeping the value of a young player. It's definitely going to be there and thereabouts. So I think Liverpool they played it smart, and I think they've put the player first over the club's requirements in a lot of respects. Liverpool could have been very selfish and said, no, we need a 6, and we don't know what's going to happen with Gravenberch if someone gets injured. Can Endo play that system? Slot could have been well within his rights to be very selfish and just hoard that type of player, to be like, well, if we're not buying anybody, I'm keeping him. And again, it just throws more pressure on him when he needs to be thrown into, you know, he needs to be thrown into a big game against Man U, or he needs to be thrown into a big game against Spurs or Newcastle or Aston Villa. Just because somebody's out injured potentially, you're asking a lot.
Yeah, back to some super chats, and then we'll get on to Kelleher and also that Varela situation that happened last night, which for 10 minutes I was really happy about. FSG have been good owners. We could be like the Ev. I'm very thankful that we're not like the Ev.
Definitely very thankful not the Ev.
No one wants to buy them. Absolutely no one. There is a question here. I'll let you answer it. So my question, guys, if you were in a relationship that wasn't going well, are you going to stay in it because the next one could be worse? Absolutely not. LFC and FSG isn't working.
So, on that basis, you're telling us the relationship that we've got with FSG isn't going well. My argument to that is, in the last 5 years, how many trophies have we picked up? How many medals have these lads got wrapped around their necks? Like, that to me does not stink of a bad relationship. And if you go into the mindset of a relationship where you think, all right, you know what, the last 6 months have been shit, I'm just going to bail her. After you've been with them for God knows how many years, what does that say about you as a person? You know what I mean? You stay with somebody through the good and the bad. It's an awful analogy because it just stinks of emotion, and I don't think we should be emotional to the football club, to the team on the pitch, and potentially to the manager when it gets to that point. But trying to be all emotional over the owners, I just think you're setting yourself up for a fail. That's just me personally.
The thing is that no matter what we say or what we do,
it makes no fucking difference.
It really makes it. Like,
nobody
this is
cares.
Summer transfer windows and that used to really affect me, and I grew up and realised the least you care about it, the much better your life will be.
No, it's hard to be like I get
less emotional now over transfers, and I'm fine with that.
I think it's everybody thinking the grass is greener on the other side. Oh, look what they've got. They're spending money. They're doing this. They're doing that. Like, you just said, or whoever that person was in the chat, and I'm not going at you because your example is an example that a lot of people give, so it's not just an individual thing, but a lot of people will turn around and say, oh, you know, we're in a bad relationship, to take your analogy. what's the relationship with friggin' Chelsea then? Like Chelsea's owners, like that to me seems like a bad relationship, and it's only been 2 years. They've not got any benefits from it. They've lost, cup finals. They haven't won in Wembley for nearly 5 or 6 seasons. Like that to me stinks of not a very good relationship. Yet Chelsea fans are still willing to give him time. And is it just because he's spending money? It's like you're being pacified. It's like, really? Do you know what I mean? What? Like, so what are we doing? Just because somebody's giving you the money, you'll forgive them for all of the other bad things and football decisions that they're making on and off the pitch. The fact that they're letting youth and loan academy players that have worked hard to get to where they've got, they're casting them off so they can bring in 60, 70 million pound players. They're putting them on 8, 9, 10 year contracts just so they've got them and then they can't sell them. The Lukaku's been sold more times than I can really care to say in the right, in most respectful way. And it just feels like there's a mess going on there. So we see things very much with red tinted glasses and look at our own situation and feel hard done to. But there are far worse clubs or owners of clubs that we could currently have that wouldn't necessarily put Liverpool in and amongst it. I remember a time when we wasn't at the top tier of world football, and as Liverpool fans, all we wanted was to be knocking on the door, be competitive, push a team for the league one or 2 seasons on the bounce, go and get back in the Champions League, go and win a Champions League because we've got that kind of history. And the owners that have made all of that a reality has been FSG. So there's got to be a level of gratitude for what they've done. I'm not saying that they're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you've kind of got to take on the chin that there are so many other managers out there, or not managers, owners out there, I should say, that would not be able to guarantee the same level of success or sustainability that FSG have been able to bring to Liverpool's front door. Are you really willing to risk that because the relationship's bad? I don't know.
Thanks for the super chat. FSG saved from Hicks and Gillette, invested in infrastructure and have won it all. What Premier League club has been more successful during their era without doping? Without the doping part, I really enjoyed that because they've still got 115 charges that are getting looked into.
Yeah, and they're hanging over the head. Joe, what I mean? It's like, we've got I'm not. That's a stretch. We haven't got a Ted, lads. We definitely haven't got a Ted. But we've got a tidy bed. She's tidy. She ain't got no lip fillers. She ain't got no extensions. She ain't got no BBL. She ain't got no fake titties. And she still looks good. Do you really want to blow up doll and be like, oh my God, she's a 10-10 and it's all fake? You don't want that. Ain't nobody going to wife a hoe. Think about it.
I'll reserve my judgment on that one and move on to the next super chat. Really want to see a centre-back before the window closes. 4 seems light. I think they are overestimating the physio's ability to keep Ebo, spelt with an E, and Gomez fit. Once again, that was a position that I felt Liverpool needed to invest in. And like you've said there, things could be better, but things could be a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah. There was talk about, wasn't it, that Branthwaite, that was a bit of a murmur.
That was just out of the blue.
Gay, he's been rumoured, but he's now staying at Crystal Palace. Again, I think the position that we've left ourselves in with Virgil van Dijk makes it a lot more difficult to kind of say what level of centre-back is the right fit at this particular moment in time. I think if there would have been already a contract decision made, which we're not privy to it by any stretch of the imagination, but if there would have been one that was already made, maybe we would have felt that they had a stronger hand to go into the transfer market in that particular department. And again, especially if the hand was forced by Joe Gomez saying, well, if you're not going to give me minutes, I'm going to go up the road and I'm going to go elsewhere, that might have made them think, all right, well, we need an adequate cover. But it doesn't look like it's going to be anything that we're going to do between now and 11 p.m.
No, it doesn't. Money doesn't guarantee you success. Chelsea, United, anyone? True, they're having a ton of time. I mean, I don't like to say it yet. Actually, wait until Sunday's over, please, before I say anything.
I get the fact that all clubs spend billions nowadays, and it's just become quite normal. But they've spent, and it's again the most important thing is it's not our money at the same time. But they've spent so much dough. And they've got next to Man U've got a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup for the Troubles, and they've won what they would consider by their standards second tier trophies across domestic trophies and international or continental trophies for the best part of 10 years now, a whole decade. 11, 12 years has gone and they haven't won the top honours in Europe or domestically, and they've spent well over £1 billion in that process. They've got every right to be fuming. They had every right to want to have some sort of change. Ineos have come in and their job is so much harder now because of the pressure that's been applied by the previous owners, and they're not just going to fix it in one transfer window. And I think that is the issue with Man United. Again, we've already spoke until we're blue in the face about Chelsea, but let's be honest. Another example, in the last two, 3 seasons, they've spent close to nearly £1 billion and they've won fuck all. Like, actually, fuck all. So, like, what are we doing?
I'll let you read the super chat out. Thank you so much for all the super chats, by the way.
Crazy how many fans do nothing but complain. We've come from the mire of Europa League to competing for titles and Champions League. Bunch of moaners. Bro, Josh, I get it. I'm a moaner too. I am probably one of the biggest moaners when I'm in the studio because there's a lot of shit that I am never happy with. But at the same time, I can't moan at winning trophies. I can't moan at seeing open bus top parades busting through the city, down L1, down on the Strand, hundreds of thousands of people with big beaming smiles on the face, flares going off, songs, alays, the way, like, bro, I can't moan at that. Like, it's all easy to sit there on a high horse saying, oh, well, we could do better, we could do more. But, bro, I remember when we was walking a donkey. Do you get me? We looked like an ass, and now we're looking good. So, and we're competitive, and we're doing what a top football club should be doing on the pitch and off the pitch in terms of sustainability, the training ground facilities. There's more. If you look, you can look at the negatives anywhere, but if you just sit there and assess it objectively, there's more positive than negatives with this current regime, in my opinion.
Josh upgraded his membership to Wonderkid. Thank you so much, Josh. If anyone else wants to join him, go for it. You'll have everything from the massive build-up to Manchester United, all the reaction to it afterwards, and everything that comes along in the next week. It is an international break, which is a bit crap.
Boring.
Though, isn't it? How crap is that?
Lee Carsley's England. Lee Carsley's Lions. Let's go.
Very well. Kelleher, I cannot believe that Nottingham Forest tried to offer us Matt Turner. Cannot get over that.
Doesn't he think that was at Arsenal?
No, I think, no. So Kelleher the other day...
No, isn't Matt Turner a keeper though?
Yeah.
Isn't he was at Arsenal then?
He was at Arsenal.
I'm pretty sure
he's now at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
And they decided that they put cash plus Matt Turner in for Kelleher. Liverpool did not want any of that. But it hasn't been ruled out that he'll go. Hopefully he doesn't, for the main reason of please just stay until next season and then go.
What's the other kid's name at the minute?
Yaros.
Yeah, Yaros. What's
I like
the levels?
him.
What's the... Because I haven't really seen much of the pre-season.
In pre-season he was quite good when he came on.
Yeah. Is he at least at Kelleher's level, or is he slightly...
I've not really seen him on the ball. You've not seen him much. I've not seen him on the ball. A shot stopping.
Played in pressure.
So, you know, but I imagine if Kelleher is to go, Yaros just moves up into that next level.
How many people we got watching us?
We have got 1,588 right now.
How many likes are we sitting on?
We are sitting on 196. You're not going to get likes from these. Come on now.
Wow. See, this is why I moan. You see this? I moan at you lot for being shit on the like button. Do the admin. Come on, guys. By the way,
anyone who is talking in chat, right, you can all have your opinions. Everyone is allowed their opinion. And just because you think FSG should be not in charge of Liverpool, that's fine. I can still sit here and have a convo with you. You can have your opinions and you can believe what you want to believe. That is absolutely sound with me. I've got no problem with that. You can still be nice to each other whilst having a difference of opinion.
Oh yeah, people won't though because it's the internet.
No, it won't.
Do you know what I mean?
But also, mainly, as long as we just all get behind the team when that whistle goes on Sunday, that's what I really care about, and I imagine that we all will do that. Josh is back, say, our club is in the best position, unlike Chelsea, United, even Everton. Let's keep the FSG out away from what we have accomplished. We've done quite well in my teenage to 20s, and I've loved every second of it.
You know, aside from the glaringly obvious mistakes that they've done, which I feel like FSG have made more moral howlers than footballing howlers, in my opinion.
They have.
However, if someone said to you, Gillette and Hicks are going to be fucked off, they're going, the replacements are going to come in, and within 10 years of them taking over, you'll have won Champions League, you'll have won the Premier League, you'll have won X amount of League Cups, you'd have won an FA Cup, you would have done, Club World Cup, you'd have won all the trophies that they've won under them, and then you would have been to the finals that you've been to, played the games that you've played, had a world-class, best-in-class manager, top 1 and 2, and had a star-studded side at one point that had 7 or 8 Ballon d'Or nominees in it. If someone just packaged that to you and just put that on, the guy who rings out like the announcement for like the squad news and people walk and you were all sat around the ground and you could hear it on your TVs at home and said, this is what's going to happen once they go out the door. I guarantee you there would have been not one Liverpool fan around the world that said, don't sign me up for that. Mm-hmm. You'd have all bit their hand off at that moment in time. It's just now we're looking from this privileged position where we're like, we want more. Yeah. I want more. Give me more.
Also, it would help if Manchester City didn't have 115 charges against them.
Because if the league was fair and adjudicated fairly from the off, it would have.
Because they would if those 115 charges that date back to literally be
08,
they wouldn't be what they are today if they hadn't have done all that. So
FSG would have been the measuring stick of what is the right level of ownership, aside from all the moral fucking hiccups that they've done and the mistakes. I get it, but from a footballing sense, they would have been lauded as the model to go and replicate and follow. If and it's hard because City are just there and they're in your face and they're obnoxious.
And they might just get away with it.
And they might just get away with it, which just makes. But what we've done shouldn't be sniffed at, in my opinion, anyway. But again, as I say, you're entitled to yours. I ain't gonna be mad. I ain't gonna moan. US
NBA fan here. We're terrified.
FSG penalty. I don't really know basketball in the same way that I used to anymore. So I don't. Which team are you backing? To be fair, I need to know a little bit more details.
Before we finish, we'll just round up the Varela story.
Varela who?
Yeah. So Porto midfielder Varela last night, there was loads of links coming out of Portugal that basically Liverpool had made a last minute interest in him. His release clause, according to Fabrizio Romano, was around £55 million. However, according to the Portuguese journalist, it was €90 million. And in the space of 30 minutes, I mean, maybe even 10, really, from the one where it was like Liverpool are seriously interested. James Pearce came out and ruined everyone's night by saying that Liverpool have basically just completely and utterly shut this down. That is not a thing. So Liverpool weren't in for Varela in the end, I don't think. A player that we were linked with, but you'd have assumed we'd have gone for him instead of Zubimendi if he was one of the main targets. Plays a little bit different to Zubimendi as well. But yeah, were you awake for all of this last night? Did you see it go down? No. There was some funny memes, I'll give them that. James Pearce has put one on as well. It was like the worst, something about the world leaders causing like the most upset or something, and James Pearce. James Pearce in there. Really good stuff from him, to be fair. But yeah, that was a little moment in time where I thought maybe we might have more to do. Quickly before we go, do you reckon we'll sign anyone?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm not going to fill you with false hope.
No.
I'm going to just keep it real. I'm not that guy.
No, I reckon I could go home now, but we're not going home now.
Call it a night. Joe, cancel the takeaway, lad. We're going home. I'm about to order some food. I'm about to go and hope that Liverpool do sign a player just for my happiness. I'm already going to bounce into Sunday, but if we did get someone over the line, we'll have to speak on that. We'll have to speak on that a little bit later.
Yeah,
we'll get
we
some
will.
Thoughts.
We will be back later to round up all the transfer news that on Liverpool's side. We'll also look at some of the biggest deals from opposition clubs, and we'll also talk about Manchester United. Until then, I hope you all have a very lovely, peaceful night, and I'll see you later. Up the Reds.